That's what we're going to continue to focus on, our process, to get this organization back where it belongs. Again, it's the gold standard. It's still the New York Giants, in the greatest city in the world. Flagship franchise, great ownership, young quarterback. Like, I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the guys who are here. Have I screwed up? Have I made mistakes? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. And we're going to continue to get better.
Well, how do you know you're not going to make the same mistake twice? And really, is it ever the same mistake? Like, I mean, really, it's not like any GM is in the job long enough to make the exact same mistake twice. It's a different mistake. There's 53 roster spots. You make a mistake about the quarterback. You make a mistake about the left tackle. You make a mistake about the edge rusher. Anyway, look, Joe Schoen, and I know there's people who think that he's not entirely safe. And I could see, as part of the effort to find a new coach, ownership getting involved, because there may be a candidate the ownership wants that the candidate
says, I don't want this as my GM.
Poses a threat.
Right.
Yeah. Shane may not want him because there's, and this is part of the very real political structure and operation of a football team. You're going to have general managers who are shying away from candidates who would want to come in and take over. You know, when Bill Cowher was kind of on the periphery of maybe coming back, we always knew how it was going to go. It was going to be Bill Cowher, Omar Khan, a couple other, and boom, get the band together and off we go. And, remember, the Jets had interest in him at one point, but they weren't willing to fire Mike Tannenbaum. And so they didn't get Bill Cowher. That's how it goes. New York's been down this road before. There may be a candidate they want who wants the GM out, and if they're not going to do it, then they don't get that candidate. That's a very real dynamic for the Giants going forward.
Oh, it definitely is. I mean, it's definitely a big dynamic going forward, and I'll be interested to see what happens there. I get the sense right now that it feels like they're going to let Joe Schoen be there, be the GM, but maybe they're not. Maybe that'll change when the season's over. But, yeah, he's going to make the call here on this, or at least be a big part of the call. And I get it. I think you and I are both in agreement more times than not. Yeah, I'm a little bit more in favor of new head coach, new GM, with them together, working together as a team, right? Instead of, wait, GM's been here, okay, and like you said, for a bunch of reasons, he might not like the most qualified guys because of what it does to him personally. So then he goes back to guys he just likes that knows like him back, and I don't know if you necessarily get the best candidate that way. That's what you worry about if you're a Giants fan. Joe Schoen's done some good things. There's no doubt about it. Right? There's some good young talent on the team. Has it been perfect? No, and he just told you that. But at the same time, I think this is one where the Giants' job is going to be somewhat appealing, because you go, wait, quarterback, got it. All right, Malik Neighbors coming off injury, but damn, still good, right? The offensive line, they've at least figured it out to where they're not a disaster now. The defense has some real players on it. They got some young pieces in the secondary. So they're not far off. And within that, yeah, you would think that brings some maybe established type coaches to the table, but they might not like, wait, I'm going to have to go with this GM. My vision's a little different or whatever else. And that's where we are, and that's what you worry about right now with the New York Giants and the situation they're in.
And this is an intersection of the old school approach, which was the GM was in charge.
Yeah.
And the general thinking was the GM got to hire 2, maybe 3 coaches before the GM was on the hot seat. You've got situations now where it's equal, or the coach is in charge and everybody goes or everybody stays. I'm a firm believer in having a partnership between the GM and the head coach, where they both thrive or they both go. That avoids the dysfunction that flows from the idea. And think about it this way. If this show wasn't like you and me together, if there was a chance, if things went sideways, it would be, one of us is going to stay and one of us is going to go. It creates all sorts of temptations to say, hey, it's his fault.
Right.
Am I pointing the right way? It's his fault.
Right.
It's not my fault. It's his fault. And the GM's the one sitting up there with the owner saying, hey, see what he did right here? See that? That's
exactly
stupid. Like, it's not going to be that blunt, But you want the coach and the GM to be in it together, the old three-legged race they'd run at the company picnic, and they're either both going to fall down or they're going to keep running. That's why I'm not a fan of the half measure of letting one go and keeping the other. And now you have introduced this dynamic where, oh, hey, that would be a pretty good coach, but he doesn't want to come here because he doesn't want to work with this GM. That's real. That's real. On that point, go ahead.
I was just saying, well, on top of that, too, what you worry about is it's a little different than last year, too, where last year, I mean, I was here. I don't think you were far off. But it's like Ben Johnson was the man. That was the guy. That was the man. We knew Vrabel was out there as the man. But I'm just talking about young coordinators, right, that we went, ooh. And Ben Johnson was like, oh, at least for me, and I think there was a lot of people that went, man, I have no doubt. He's special. What he does on offense is special. Liam Cohn, I think, was the same way that way. Is there a guy like that this year right now? Right? Because that kind of guy, I think he'd be more willing to go, listen, I need a job. I want a job. This is one of the good ones. Okay, that's the GM. All right, let's deal with it. There's only 32 of these things, and it's the Giants, and they got some things I like. I'll deal with it, right? But you get into, again, maybe we talk about a Mike McCarthy, which has been thrown up here. A lot of the fan base and people think they need somebody established because the first-time coach hasn't worked. Mike Tomlin, let's say they fire him and they bring him here. Those are the guys right now that it looks like maybe the Giants would want. And within that, those are the guys I would question whether they would want a Joe Schoen back. And that's what's going to be interesting to see as we go here.
Here's Shane from yesterday on the current state of the Giants and the head coaching search that has been going on for several weeks now.
2 wins is not where we want to be right now. It's not good enough. I understand the frustration from fans, ownership, the people inside the building, and nobody's more frustrated than myself. And it starts with me, and I'm tasked with trying to get this organization going back in the proper direction. I do have confidence in our ability and our process to find the next coach to lead the organization. And again, I truly believe in that process. And, I know we're going to get it right. I do believe there is a good young core to build around here. And it will be an attractive job for many coaches. And, I'm excited to get that process going, as we move forward.
They need a proven commodity. They need a guy who has shown that he can win. I did a little digging on this a couple of weeks ago, and they haven't ruled out trading for a coach. They, I think, are going to wait and see who gets fired, and there's always a surprise. Maybe someone's going to become available that they instantly want to hire. Right. I think for them, and look, you turn over every rock, you look everywhere, you do a broad search, but they're going to have an idea who they want. The problem is, if Joe Schoen is more concerned about protecting his turf than hiring the best coach, it's going to be a problem. And the situation, the circumstances make it reasonable for him to be concerned about it. That's what happens with a half measure. And I'm not saying Schoen should be fired. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying when you create this situation, you necessarily are going to limit your options because there's going to be that coach out there that wants to come in and take over. And Joe Schoen is not going to say that the best coach for the Giants is the guy that wants me out.
Right.
He's not going to come to that conclusion. None of us would.
Well, unless he's got the backing of the organization, right, to where he feels like no matter what he does, he's the man and he's there. And that, has he worked himself up to Howie Roseman's status to where
But the coach won't take the job then.
No, but you're right. Maybe,
if you make the ultimatum, you get rid of him or I don't take the job.
Yeah,
that's the concern.
Yeah, and we'll see. Are we going to be at that point where there's a coach out there that makes that demand? But yeah, more times than not, I'm in the boat with you, right? We saw Shanahan and Lynch come in the door together. We saw McVay and Les Snead come in the door together, right? I mean, that seems to be.
Well, no.
Snead was there a year before. You're right. He was there with Jeff Fisher. So I messed up there.
Yeah.
Yes, but I still favor that formula more than the other way around.
Well, Shanahan got hired first, and one of the reasons they went with Lynch is because Shanahan had all the juice, and they couldn't hire someone from another team's front office without giving that person final say.
Right.
Shanahan had final say.
Right.
So they had to go find somebody who was completely disconnected, and that's what led Shanahan to Lynch. It actually had Lynch say, hey, Kyle, over here. Here's, you don't have to worry about getting permission from a team for me to come work for you.
Right.
So that's part of the problem, and that's part of the challenge. But I'm a big believer in equal accountability. I think when you start creating different standards and different tracks, you set the stage for dysfunction. And we'll see where it goes for the New York Giants.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.